Hello, this is 𝘚𝘢𝘯𝘵, the author of 𝘚𝘢𝘯�12, published by 𝘚𝘢𝘯𝑊𝑒 in 2013, about Central Methodist Church and the refugee crisis there in downtown Johannesburg. I'm going to read an excerpt from the book that focuses on events in May 2008. Among those who sought refuge at Central Methodist in May 2008 were 𝘚𝘢𝘯�12 and his wife Leona. The couple and their daughter had fled to South Africa in 2007 after Alois was badly beaten in Zimbabwe because of his work with the MDC. Initially, they stayed at Central Methodist, but they soon moved into rooms of their own in the George Goch hostel. One evening in mid-May, at the peak of the violence, Alois and Leona were getting ready to go to sleep. "It's so noisy," said Alois. "What's going on?" "Is there a stadium around here?" Alois wondered. There was a knock on the door. Alois opened it to find a 5-year-old girl standing there. "My name is Lindiwe," she told him. "My grandmother sent me to say they are beating the Shangans." "Okay," thought Alois. "Well, I'm not Shangan," he thought. "I'm Shona," not really understanding the concern. Then the little girl said, "They are beating the foreigners too." Stunned, Alois wondered how he was going to run. He had Leona, who was newly pregnant, and their 2-year-old baby daughter, who cried every night. He went next door to alert another Zimbabwean man who was living there, but the man had already left. "Let's just lock the door," was Leona's suggestion, hoping that the baby would be quiet. Before Alois had a chance to reply, they heard a crowd of men coming down the passage. They kicked heavily at Alois and Leona's door. Leona rocked the baby, her eyes on the door handle. The men were speaking loudly. Then they heard an older woman who lived 2 doors away tell the men, "Those people have already gone," and the men moved on. Alois looked out of the window and saw another much larger crowd gathering outside, singing and dancing. Alois thought, "I will die here if I make a mistake." Alois and Leona took their daughter and ran to the old woman down the passage. She helped them hide under her bed, and then she sat down on it to wait. "I was shaking," remembered Alois. "I was shivering. I thought it was the last day for us." After a while, the old woman said she thought they had gone, so Alois crawled out from under the bed. "I left my wife and my baby. I went back to our place and put on my trousers and a leather jacket. As I left the building, I could hear what they were saying. They were looking for 𝘚𝘢𝘯𝘚. I found my own stick and I joined them. And they're singing, 'Buyela, Buyela, Hamba, 𝘚𝘢𝘯𝘚.' I moved about 1 kilometer with that group." As Alois made his way back to the hostel, he saw a police truck and approached it. He took a chance and told the officers his story. They took him to the hostel to fetch Leona and the baby, and then wanted to take them to Germiston City Hall, which had been set up as a temporary shelter for those fleeing the violence. But Alois declined the offer. "I want to go where I trust people," he told them. The police dropped the family downtown, and from there they walked to Central Methodist. In parting, one of the policemen told Alois the isiZulu word for elbow, so that if they were stopped again, they could convince their accosters that they were South African. Alois and Leona weren't the only ones drawn to Central Methodist. They estimated that at least 300 people came to stay at the church during that one weekend of violence alone.